Hi guys, sorry, just waiting for the thing to come in. Hi, how are we? Hope you're all well, guys. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome back to Simply Forex. Trader Tom here, and I am a currency analyst for investing.com. And I've been doing this for 17 odd years. I know, I don't look old enough. Yeah, hope you're all well, guys. Hope you're having a good trading week. We are going to look at, I'm in 2 trades currently. All right, so we're going to take a look at those. We had a losing trade earlier today, so we're going to understand that trade. We just had some real pound strength into the markets today. So we're going to understand that trade, and then we're also going to take a look at other trades that I am interested in. We've got some trades potentially setting up. And I'm also going to give somebody a $5,000 funded challenge courtesy of Blueberry Funded or E8 Markets, and I will let you know how you can get involved with that later on, how you enter in order to win. So yeah, we're going to do all of that, guys. We'll start by a quick look at the economic calendar, because as you can see, we've had a lot of PMI data out today, all positive for the euro and the pound. And like I say, we saw a bit of pound strength earlier today, although I'm still bearish pound, all right, and I'm going to show you exactly why. And also, guys, please bear in mind, we've got some big news coming out later. Again, loads of PMI data coming out here. And we've got the megalomaniac Trump is speaking, or is due to speak later on. So who knows what he'll do to the markets this time? I'm sure he'll do something. So yeah, there you go, guys. No news during the live stream, but just got to be aware of that news later in the day. And also, guys, yeah, please don't forget to ask as many questions as you like about trading. I'm with you for the next 45 minutes, so ask as many questions as you like, and I will endeavor to answer all of them if possible. And if you're a supporter of the channel, guys, and your name appears in green, you will get, I will answer your questions first. Right, so we've got a few people coming in. So hi, Luigi. Hi, Eugene. Hi, Nicholas. Hi, Mohammed. Starboy. How are you? What's up, guys? Hi, Starboy. Hope everyone is well. Now, let's start with a losing trade that I have, right? So you're going to have them, guys, okay? You know, it's part of trading. So don't worry, you're going to have losing trades, but let me explain why I entered this trade and yeah, what I could have done differently perhaps. Okay, so what we're going to do is understand the trade. It was a sell trade. And as you can see, right, we wanted to sell it because price, you know, stopped making higher highs and then price broke down, right? We're now getting lower lows on the daily. And if we also look at the weekly chart, just look at that bearish candle. That is more bearish than Yogi the Bear, right? It doesn't get any more bearish than that. So super bearish weekly candle as well, right? So we go back to the day chart, daily structures breaking down. And we're also seeing, you know, these bearish candles, okay? And I liked this candle in particular because the body of the candle closed below the wick of that candle, and that suggests selling momentum, right? If we break previous days lows in a downtrend or previous days highs in an uptrend, generally speaking, right, that is momentum. Now if we drop down to the H4, right, and I just really like this level, okay? So as you can see, was in this H4 downtrend, sort of went a little bit sideways and then bang, right? We broke down. And you can see this level through here, right? What was once support, okay, when it hits this level again becomes very good resistance. And I just entered on this level, right? I just entered at this level because I liked it. And I hid my stop loss all the way up here, well above this last high. And to be quite honest with you guys, I thought I would have nothing to worry about with this trade. But the pound strength has just been, you know, so strong that it broke this last H4 high, right? And I'm no longer interested in this trade anymore. and they actually come up and hit my stop loss. Now, there's many ways you can trade, right? And there's many ways you can enter the market as well. Now, sometimes I will wait for a bearish candle to show me sellers have taken control, or sometimes I like the level so much and I can hide my stop loss so far away that I trade the level. And this is what I done here. I just traded this level. There was no bearish reaction, you know, and in hindsight, which we don't have in trading, right? We're all hindsight millionaires, right? But in hindsight, guys, you know, should have waited for some sellers to come into the market, okay? Right? But I didn't. I liked the level, and I thought my stop loss up here would, you know, give me plenty of room to maneuver with, all right? But pound New Zealand dollar is a losing trade. Now, if we go to pound Aussie dollar now, I've actually got back into this trade, all right? Because again, right, it's highly correlated, right, with pound New Zealand dollar, all right? And you can see this level through here, all right? We started breaking these lows in here. We're getting lower lows, bearish candles, you know, very similar to pound New Zealand dollar, right? And again, a nice big bearish candle yesterday. If we look at the weekly chart, we've had a huge bearish weekly rejection candle as well from a really nice resistance level. So again, lots of confluence, lots of reasons for me to like this trade. And now if we drop down to the H4, this is where we're at, right? Now, I've entered at this level, literally here, okay? And I will do one of two things, right? Again, whereas in this H4 downtrend, price stuttered here, but then bang, right? We're here, we're here, we're here, okay? Now, I've got into this trade because I like this level. And when you get into a trade because you like the level, it gives you options, right? So let me explain, right? Let's imagine we had a big bearish candle that looked like this, right? And then I started entering and I started selling, right? Typically, I want to have the next, you know, H4 low as my target, right? And all of a sudden, you know, my stop has to go above this candle's high, right? My risk to reward isn't looking great, although there is potentially more room for this trade to move into, right? Whereas entering at this level, I'm going to do one or two things, right? So even if I do get a bullish candle, let's say we get a bullish candle that looks like that, right? And breaks this level, I will just exit the trade early, right? I'll get out here, right? And that'll be, you know, literally like a 0.2% loss, which I am, you know, absolutely fine with, right? I'm trading what price action is telling me. And if we break that level, right, this trade becomes less appealing. But so if that happens, I will close this trade early. But if we end up closing back in this level, even if we get a doji or whatever, right, then my trade still stands. It's still looking good for potentially coming back down to these lows, right? Because we've got daily in a downtrend. We've got that big weekly bearish candle. We've got H4 in a downtrend. You know, there's so many things pulling in the right direction for this trade to succeed, okay? And of course, you can still be wrong. That's the crazy thing with trading, right? You can literally find a trade that ticks all the boxes. You're like weekly bearish candle, daily downtrend, H4 downtrend, bearish candle at a nice level, and it will still come up and hit your stop loss, right? But all we're trying to do, guys, is just put, you know, the probability slightly in our favor. I mean, that's pretty much your job as a trader. So that's how I'm going to manage that one, guys. So pound Aussie dollar, we're in this trade right now. And then the last trade that I'm in is Swiss franc yen. So I spoke about this in yesterday's live stream, right? Now, I entered this trade yesterday, okay? So another really important point here, guys, is that the market is fluid, Okay, now let me have a sip of coffee before I explain what I mean. And Liverpool are playing tonight. Who are we playing? Can't remember. Can't remember, but we're playing tonight. And also, guys, while we're at it, while you're watching, if you're enjoying the analysis, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button, and smash the like button. And also stay around, guys, because I am going to give one lucky punter a $5,000 challenge, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can enter. But this is interesting, right? Swiss franc yen. Now, if we go back, let's go back a candle, right? Let's go back here. Now, this is because this is why I entered, right? So you're seeing this level, we stop making higher highs. We've got this bit of a breakdown, and now you can see there's this level through here, right? It's also corresponded with that. So this is an important level, and my stop's above that, right? So again, I've put my stop well out of the way. But that's not the important thing here. Well, it is important, but this is the important thing. So yesterday, right, we had, a couple of days ago, we had a nice big bearish candle, okay? So I wanted to sell. But now if we go back to real time, we have now had a big bullish daily candle, right? So this has put a different complexion on my trade, right? It's very bullish. It is actually an inside candle, right? Which suggests sellers will prevail, right? Because whatever this candle is, it's the dominant candle. It's it's engulfing this candle. But I don't like this bullish candle. Now, I entered this trade yesterday. So if we go to the H4, you can see we started to get sellers into the market, and I entered here, right? Stops above that high, that level that I spoke about. Now, I'm liking the look of it so far because you can see all of these wicks are closing back into each other, right? So there's sellers in there. Those top wicks suggest sellers, right? But you can see my alarm here. Now, this trade, I've talked about stacking probability in my favor. Right, we're playing Sunderland. Thank you, Lee. So yeah, trading is about stacking probability in my favor. Now, that big bullish daily candle takes away from the probability of my trade, right? So, for example, if I get a big bullish candle, right, let's get that one out of the way. If I get a big bullish green candle that does this, right, we've still got another hour and 45 minutes, right? That's why my alarm is here. I may well get out of this trade, right? And I'm going to take like a 0.6% loss, right? And trading is about, getting out of losing trades early, right? And potentially letting winners run. You hear this all the time, and that's all about managing trades, right? So if that happens, plus that big daily candle, I may well get out of this trade if that happens, okay? But if we keep getting these wicks and it keeps rejecting, and you'll actually see this level here, guys, my alarm in here, and we get this H1 break, because as you can see, right, we're in a H1 uptrend, okay? Now, if we end up getting a break of this level, then I keep talking about putting probability in your favor. At that point, you would have daily downtrend, H4 downtrend, and you would have a H1 downtrend as well. So you'd have so much pulling in the same direction if we get a breakdown of this H1 level as well. So if that happens, guys, again, we're talking about management. I probably won't add to the trade, right? You could add to the trade here. Say you get that break, right? You could get a bit of a retest, right? We could start selling. Okay, what I would do is this, right? So here's my stop loss. I would move my stop loss down to say here, right? And I've reduced my risk. And whatever I've reduced my risk by, I can put that leftover risk into this trade, right? So I've reduced my risk, let's say by about, 0.4%, right? So whatever the amount that equates to in terms of the trade size, I can then add that 0.4 in here, right? With a view to taking that lower. So that's what I would look to do, guys. So let's see, right? I'm still in this trade. Yeah, so let's see, guys. Yeah, and those are all the trades that I am in. What else did I want to share with you guys? Yeah, I really like Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar as well, but we could be waiting some time for this trade. Because if you look at the daily, right, we've literally had this daily structure break, right? We're back at this level. In fact, let's put in a gray zone, right? A support and resistance level, right? We're back at that level. And how many times have I said this, right? Once you get the break, you get the retest to the last low, right? This constitutes a pretty good setup. Now, I was contemplating taking this trade as a day trade, not even a H4 trade. Literally start selling in here, right? Stops up here and potentially, to come lower. Now, that would have been a day trade. I haven't taken this trade. And I'm actually going to wait to see what H4 does. Because on the H4, there's not going to be a trade for some time, right? Because on the H4, we are clearly in this H4 uptrend, and we've even broken these highs, right? So it doesn't look like this trend is slowing. But yeah, so what you'd need to do is, potentially you get this H4 uptrend, and then we start to see a breakdown, and then we can start entering. All right, so that would be a H4 trade. And what I suggested earlier, literally just selling here, stops up here, would be a day trade, right? A daily chart trade. Again, both are feasible, because they're built on price action and what moves markets, right? It's built on trend, structure, support and resistance levels, candlesticks, right? So yeah, like this trade, but I'm not in it as yet. Right, guys, let's just see. We've got some more people coming in. We've got some questions. So yeah, thank you, Lee. Liverpool playing Sunderland tonight. Sunderland are a pretty good team this year. That ex-Arsenal midfielder, Zaka, he's pretty good. Hi, Nero, Starboy, hello. Some young guy, hello. Always chuckle when I see that name. John, okay, so John's got, hi, Tom. Any advice on the carry trade at expectation? I understand the spread is likely to reduce, US dollar rate cut and Japanese yen interest rate increase. Anything that you are monitoring? So John, yeah, I've shown you all the trades that I am looking at. And also, guys, if you want all of my trade ideas, right, every day, let me just show you this quickly. I don't know if you can see this on TikTok, guys, so just bear with me a second. But they're all here. So please come join the free Discord, all right? And in the free Discord, guys, you can see all the trades that I'm looking at, right? This is my analysis every morning, and then I put all of my trade ideas here. Now, obviously, I rarely enter them all, but you can see I entered pound New Zealand dollar. I'm now in pound Aussie dollar, right? And I was in Swiss franc yen from yesterday. So if you go to yesterday's trade, you can see Swiss franc yen was one of my trade ideas there. So please come join the free Discord, guys. So that's everything I am looking at, John. Right, Lee's got a question here. Getting out of losing trades quickly means protecting your capital. Indeed. The acceptance that a decision that you made didn't work out is hard, but needs to be done if you were to stay in the game long term. Yeah, it's one of the hardest things to do in trading. So there's two really hard things to do, right? One is sit on your hands. Get used to it, right? You're better off spending less time in the market than in it and just focusing on quality trades, not quantity, right? And I'm an intraday trader. I generally get one trade a day, right? And that's more than enough for me to manage, and that's, you know, maybe 2 maximum, right? So yeah, one thing is to get used to sitting on your hands, being out of the market. And the other one, guys, is, sorry guys, I got distracted there. I got a little message on another medium. Yeah, and the other one is to admit that you are wrong, right? You spend all this time as a trader, right? You're like, right, that's in a downtrend, that's in a downtrend. We've retraced to a nice level. It's at a really nice area of value. I really like this level. We've got a bearish candle. Sellers are in control. I'm going to sell. And you've literally done everything right. You've waited for the perfect setup, right? Literally, according to your strategy, it is perfect. And then the trade just whips up and takes you out, right? That is hard to take. Okay, so you have to take that you are going to be wrong a lot of the time. Now, what Lee is explaining is, you know, we can also admit we are wrong earlier. Yeah, like I've been explaining, guys, if XYZ happens, then I'm not liking my trade. So don't let it take the full risk, the full 1% or whatever you risk on a trade. Perhaps get out of it a bit earlier, right? And I didn't have that option with pound New Zealand dollar because pretty much I'm a H4 trader, guys. You know, I wasn't expecting a H4 candle like that. It didn't give me any room for getting out. Right, it didn't give me any flexibility. It just went up and hit my stop loss. Now, there's not much you can do with those trades, right? But with the pound Aussie dollar and the Swiss franc yen, I've explained what I'm looking at for me to carry on with the trade or potentially get out of the trade, right? And that ultimately is going to save you R. It's going to save you risk, which protects your capital and ultimately increases profits. Right. But yeah, absolutely. It's difficult to admit you are wrong, right? Even after all of your analysis, that's one thing I really had to overcome. Nowadays I'm pretty, impervious to it. It's just all I can do is trade my strategy. If I'm wrong or right, I can't control that. Yeah. And I've talked about this many times, guys, right? It's about showing your, sorry guys, I keep getting little comments come up. It's all about your performance, right? It's not, I know this may sound crazy, but it's not about the results. You can't control the result. If your trade works out or not, right, you can't do much to control that. But what you can do is focus on your own performance and work on your edge, which is your strategy, your money and risk management, and your psychology, right? Controlling your emotions. So if you can do all of those things every single day, then you will get consistency. But it's difficult, right? You're juggling those 3 balls every day, right? Strategy, money management, and psychology. And if you drop one of those balls, unfortunately, it's 9 times out of 10, it's going to have a bad result. And what's also tough, and what we've just spoken about, is you can be juggling those balls perfectly, like the best circus performer in the world, and you're still wrong. Yeah, so yeah, and think about it, guys. Right, I typically have a win percentage of around 60%. It's a little bit lower this year. We're having a little tough end to the year, but typically my win percentage is 60%. So I am wrong 40% of the time. What a crazy, there's no other job like it, right? If you're a heart surgeon, right, and you go and you need open heart surgery, and the surgeon, he gets it right 60% of the time. You'll be like, yeah, I don't want to use him, right? Or if you're a teacher, if you're a history teacher, and you're teaching history and you only get the history right 60% of the time, you won't be a teacher for long. Whereas in trading, that's not bad. right? A 60% win rate, you know, that will lead to consistent profitability. So it's a crazy world we're in, really, if you think of it like that. There's nothing quite like trading. So yeah, there you go, guys. You've got to admit you're wrong, and sometimes admit you're wrong earlier than you expected, right? And it's difficult to be that flexible and that honest with yourself sometimes. But yeah, good point, Lee. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that little conversation. Eugene wants to look at Aussie dollar, Swiss franc. Hello, Jane. Hello, Path. Hello, Mr. Billionaire. Right, Eugene, this one is for you. Guys, before I show you, Aussie dollar, Swiss franc and what we're looking at, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button and smash the like button. Please go check out, if you look above my head, please go check out the website, www.simply-forex.com. You'll get all access to all of my premium trading education on there. Please come join our Discord. I showed you it earlier. We have a free Discord. It's free. And I give you all of my trade ideas on there. So why the hell not join? And also, guys, right now, if you sign up with our preferred broker, Pepperstone, using our link, we will give you free access to the VIP Trading Academy, and we'll give you a free Essential Trading View subscription. So go check all that out. And we're still going to give somebody $5,000 during the show. We're actually you're going to enter today, and we'll show you the winner tomorrow. Right, Aussie dollar, Swiss franc. Where are you? Here we are. We've got a random arrow on my screen. Now, let's start with the daily, right? Now, I had a winning trade here, right? I was in this trade yesterday, and I took profit, and I closed 100% of this trade, right? Literally here, right? That was my target. So I'm out of this trade. Now, does it have a little bit more room to go? Maybe, right? Maybe it does, but why this wasn't a trade idea for me today is because of this wick, right? This wick's kind of closed back into this wick, right? And therefore this candle, although it's green, it's not bullish enough for me, right? So yeah, it's not a trade for me today because of this wick. But if you said, Tom, do you think it has a bit more room? I would say yes, right? It probably does. Okay. And we know we're in this uptrend, so we want to buy it anyway, right? This is where we're at. And we know the weekly, well, I know the weekly has a very bullish candle. So if you look at the weekly, right, we had this really bullish candle, right, from last week. But we are getting into these highs in here, right? We are. I wouldn't want to keep pushing my luck into this level. And in fact, I didn't. I closed my trade, you know, at my target. But if you look at the H4, right, we're still in a H4 uptrend, right? You know, it was a little bit sideways, but then bang, bang, bang. We're in an uptrend, right? We've got these higher highs, we've got these higher lows. We're clearly in an uptrend. But yeah, just not a trade for me, really. You know, even if we saw a nice big bullish candle in here, you know, you could start buying here, stopped below these swing lows in here, give it a bit of room, you know, and there's enough room to move into. But yeah, still not a trade for me for that reason, Eugene. So I would stay away. I'm also streaming this on TikTok, guys. I'm just having a quick look there. You can come join my TikTok if you want. If you don't, you don't have to. But yeah, so we're yeah, let me just take a quick look at that. Okay, so we've got a few people in checking it out. All right, hello TikTok, massive. Right, any other questions? So Rahil wants to look at US dollar, Canadian dollar. All right, so this was one of my trade ideas. Again, right, if we go to the Discord, you can see today US dollar, Canadian dollar was one of my trade ideas. So Rahil, great minds think alike. But it's sort of left the building, right? Elvis has left the building and it's gone without us a bit. You can see where my alarm was. This is where I was interested in getting into this trade. I wanted a bit of a retrace into value, and then I would have entered that trade, right? If it come up and hit my alarm. But it didn't. And why did I like this level? You're probably thinking, Tom, that level's in the middle of nowhere. Because I like this level because I could put my stop loss above here, right, to protect it. And then I could still take profit back down at these lows here and roughly get my 1:1, right? You know, take 80% or 70%, 60%, and then let some profits run, right? That was the plan. So that's why I like that level, because it gave me value and it gave me the right risk to reward. Now, as it happens, right, it didn't retrace enough, right? It just came down, right? And if that happens, I'm not interested. I don't want to be chasing a trade, right? And this is a perfect example of, we get a retrace, you let the trade come to you, and we could start selling, right? I don't have to be in the market, right? I would wait for the trade to come to me. If it doesn't, right, which this didn't, and it just carries on down, I'm not going to start selling in here and jumping in on this trade, right? That would be madness. So yeah, let the market come to you, and some days it won't come to you. No problem. Say adios, Mr. Market. I'll see you tomorrow. No problem, right? But yes, I liked US dollar, Canadian dollar sells. And, I think if we come out here, you can see this level back in here. But let's look at it on the daily, actually, right? I think it's got enough. I think it's going to come down to this level in here, right? So this area here around 39.24, right? I'd be interested in taking price back down to there. Now, I would still be interested in this trade potentially tomorrow, right? If we got this big bearish candle here and we still had this bit of room to move into, I would be interested still. But again, I still need that retrace, right? I'm not going to start selling here. I need a push back into here. Maybe it wants to test this high, right? We get a reaction and then we could come lower, right? But yeah, US dollar, Canadian dollar was definitely a sell trade. Let me have a quick sip of my coffee. Oh, it's cold. Nothing like cold coffee. And if we've got any Sunderland fans in today, I hope you lose. I don't mean that horribly. I just want Liverpool to win. Brian, how are you, Brian? So before we start with Brian and we'll take a look at gold, guys. Right, who wants to win a $5,000 funded challenge, right, for free? Now, this is what you need to do to enter, guys, right? All you need to do is join our free Discord channel, right? You will find the link in the video description. You're just going to join the channel, and then in the free Discord, guys, right, we have this question here that I put in today. Where are you? So yeah, in here, guys, right? So in here, all I want you to do is under Forex chat, join our Discord server and answer this question. What type of trader are you? So everyone who enters, right, you can see here, we've got some people entering, will be in with a chance of winning a $5,000 funded challenge. So join the free Discord, answer this question, and I will pick a couple of winners to get those $5,000 challenge. So do that right now, guys. Come join our free Discord. Right. So we've got a few other people turning up. Hi, SP King. Like it. The Nike swoosh. But let's have a look at gold for Brian. Now, let's do, in fact, guys, right? So let's put this level in here. Let's do this because we haven't done this for a while, right? Now, we're gonna analyze this together, okay? And we haven't done this for a while, but this is really good for your understanding of price action and reading charts, right? So I want you all to get involved in the live chat. So right now, right, looking at the daily chart on gold and only the daily chart, would you, so leave a message, guys, would you buy it? Would you sell it? Or would you stay out? Those are your only three options that you have every day with trading. Would you buy it? Would you sell it? Or would you stay out? So everyone right now, just looking at the daily chart, would you buy, sell, or stay out of this market with gold? Right, John is a stay out. Niraj is stay out. Anyone else? Have we got the guys on TikTok getting involved? Guys, don't be shy. Come get involved as well. You can leave something on the live chat. And also, guys, I believe I'm trying to collect roses or something on the TikTok. So help me out. That's foreign language to me. I don't know what's going on with that. All right, guys. So, okay. So we've got stay out, buy, stay out, stay out, buy for the long term. Okay. Stay out. So you are the sentiment of the market. You know, when they talk about market sentiment, right? You are a very small sample of market sentiment. Okay. And market sentiment is telling me to stay out, right? We've got a couple of stay outs, and we've got mainly stay outs. We've got a couple of buys. Okay. Now, if we look at the facts on the chart, right? So we was in this gold downtrend, which didn't last very long at all, because, you know, gold strength is clearly here to stay. But we're in an uptrend, right? We've got higher highs, higher lows. We even broken this high if it was in any doubt. We're in an uptrend, okay? And I can see what you mean, Lee, right? There is a bullish candle there, right? I think that is a bullish candle. So we've got uptrend, bullish candle. There's lots of things pointing in the direction to buy. But the biggest thing for me is we are at a resistance level. And I cannot buy into that, right? I know we're in an uptrend. We've got a bullish candle, right? We've got a bit of value there. You know, we still potentially got room back up to these highs in here. But you can clearly see this was once very good resistance. And therefore, it could be very good resistance again. So, you know, just by the very definition, resistance means there are sellers at that level, right? That's what resistance means. And support means there are buyers at that level. So I do not want to buy where there's sellers. And that's basically why I would stay out of this trade, right? So day chart for me would be a stay out, right? But this is what I do every morning, guys, right? This is part of my analysis. Now, let's take a look at the weekly chart. Okay, now, same question again, guys. Looking at the weekly chart, would you buy, would you sell, or would you stay out of this market? Right? So again, guys, same question, but for the weekly chart now. So everyone leave your comments down below. I'm going to see if the people of TikTok are getting involved. So TikTok people, leave a comment, get involved, guys. Don't be shy. I don't bite. Only at weekends. Yeah, get involved. Right. So what we saying, guys? So SP King would buy, Niraj stay out, John would stay out, overstretched. Yeah, Luigi's the same. Yeah, stay out, overextended. We've got a comment here, buy because of the fundamentals, right? Yeah, gold is fundamentally strong. I agree with that. YouTube is life, and life is. I was trying to be philosophical, but I can't. You would sell. Okay. All right. Interesting. Path would stay out. So again, guys, right, the majority of you would stay out because you're saying things are a little bit overstretched, right? Some are saying buy, right? Now, technically, right, we are in an uptrend, right? But you can see sellers come in big time here. Sellers have come in big time here, right? And as a lot of you said, right, this is our smart river, which is part of our Price Action Pro indicator. Please go check it out, guys. And what this area here is the mean of the chart. So what does that mean? The mean of the chart, it means that price wants to revert back to the mean. It has always done that, and it will always do that. There's no ifs and buts about that. Price will always come back to this level. Now, this is obviously going to catch up with price as well. So it might come back to this level only here, but it will come back to this level, right? It always has. Look, I mean, it always will, right? Now, for that reason, we are so far away from the mean, right? So yes, things are overstretched, right? So we're a little bit overstretched. We're seeing this selling pressure in here, right? It'll be interesting to see what happens here. So for those reasons, I would stay out, but it's worth pointing out we do have a very bullish weekly candle. That is super bullish. That's such a strong buying candle. But again, I can't buy into that level. So, weekly and daily are both a stay out for me. All right. And therefore, this wouldn't, the little trade ideas that I put in the free Discord, it wouldn't make it on that list for these reasons, right? Those trades that I put in the free Discord, they make it on the list because they've ticked the daily boxes and they've ticked the weekly boxes, right? And then we look for a trade on the H4. So yeah, gold for me is a stay away for those reasons. Now, anything hot did talk about fundamentals. Yeah, right. If we get a Fed rate cut, you got to remember gold is against the US dollar, right? So the fact we're against the US dollar, if the US dollar has a interest rate cut, that will make the US dollar weak. And therefore, by default, gold will be strong, right? But gold is also strong, right? It's a flight to safety, although the indices are flying, right? We've really lost that correlation between gold and the indices. The indices have gone up, gold has gone up, right? That correlation is usually opposite, right? If the indices are doing well, then there's no need for a safe haven like gold. And when the indices are dropping, gold becomes strong because it's a safe haven. Now, that correlation has broken on this gold rally. And what really is powering this gold rally is that US dollar weakness. But it's also central banks, right? They're just buying up so much gold. I think especially China, I think. So, that is what's propping up this gold strength. Because if you look at the indices, if we look at the NASDAQ, right, they're flying, right? Uptrend, big bullish candle, still in an uptrend. So when the indices do this, gold, right, typically does that. And when the indices do this, gold typically does that. But what we're seeing is indices do this and gold do this, right? That correlation has broke. And as Lee has said here, central banks bargain hunting. Yeah, so when you get a dip in gold, they're on it, right? You get a dip down to here, you're going to get a large central bank order of gold, right? They're waiting for enough sellers to fill their large buying trade, their large buy trade, and push price back up. So yeah, gold strength doesn't look like it's going away, guys. So Neil has said here, I think my wife is buying so much gold too. Sad times. Neil, I hope your trading's going well, because then you can offset the gold expenditure with your trading. And on that note, guys, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button, and smash that like button. Please come join me again, same time tomorrow, for more of the same live trading. I share with you my trades, so yeah, come get involved, guys. All right, have a great evening, day, night, whatever time it is in your country, and I'll see you tomorrow, guys.